Hello and welcome to The Side Woo. This is your host, Thibault, helping you navigate the wild and mysterious path that is the creative life. Join me as I ask our guests about the tools they use to help them survive in the creative wilderness. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much. This is Thibault with The Side Woo podcast. And I am super excited. I'm a big fan of today's guest. We have Allison Schulnik, who is an artist, animator, like sculptor. I'm trying to think what else you said, filmmaker, and originally from San Diego, but currently living out in the desert in Sky Valley. And we're going to try to keep the talk under an hour because apparently there's a threatening wind that's on its way. So we're going to try
Seems
to
okay right now,
work with the weather. But yeah, thank you so much, Allison. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So we will do some Q&A at the end, about 45 minutes in. But if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat. And just to kick things off, I always start with, what sign are you? Like Western Sun astrology sign.
I'm Libra.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So recent birthday. Or
Yes. Kind of. Yeah.
That
October
actually
4th.
feels very right. Like as an artist, and I don't know, how does that come up for you? Like, do you have a lot of other placements in Libra or?
I don't know. I don't know too much about it. Everyone who I tell I'm a Libra to, they're like, "Oh yes." You
Well,
seem
because
like a Libra.
Venus rules Libra, and I feel like everyone like immediately associates Venus with art.
Oh.
And like beauty, and like, at least, yeah, that's what I was told anyway. But then also social justice and like kind of being balanced.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Well, we'll just keep that in mind as we go through the conversation. I feel like your work is really kind of witchy and has this like kind of pseudo like spiritual subtext to it, thinking about like nature and these kind of like mystical creatures, like kind of like elementals. Like a lot of your animation deals with, kind of the animation of flowers and trees, and thinking about death and like transformation through these kind of like cycles of nature. But I'm curious if, there's any kind of like spiritual like belief system underneath that. Belief system is a very formal word, so I don't really know how to explain that. But yeah, is there any kind of like mystical beliefs that you have around nature or your art or anything that you were kind of brought in from growing up that informs like the way you think about your work?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. We were talking about this. I think for me, I think when I think of spirituality, I think of like it is rooted in like art and nature for me, and just kind of being having a community of people and being connected to people and to nature, and I think the animating, bringing things to life that I make with my hands, I don't know, it feels just natural for me, and I like being able to make worlds and that are just completely from my head, and I don't know, it's almost just like an expression of maybe, my spirituality in that way, that it's just really about art and nature for me, I think.
Yeah, cool. And are you like witchy at all? Do you do like moon ritual? Because your work feels like made by someone who's like been out in the darkness of the night, like making symbols in the dirt, and you live in the desert, which is kind of like a witchy place to live.
Yeah, I tell my daughter we're good witches. I know that I have a relative. I know that I have a like a great aunt that was burned at the stake in Salem. But no, I'm just I don't know. I love the idea of witchiness, and I just love the idea of just this feeling of creating things and out of nature and things that you just would, maybe, I don't know, just like trying to really focus on maybe the darkness that I have inside, but also the light and how that comes out. I know it comes off as witchy, and I love that. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think
for me
that's
to say.
no, don't totally. That's okay. I mean, I think what you said about bringing out the like inner darkness too. I was going through your movies that you've made, the animation movies, and there is kind of this celebration of like the misfit. You have like these kind of slightly decrepit looking characters and sad clowns and hobos, and they're all kind of a little bit like they've gotten the sad end of the life stick,
Hmm.
but they're also in community with one another, and there is kind of like a joyfulness in their just acceptance of one another as they like do their dancing and like their kind of like flowy movements. I don't know if you could talk. I mean, I realize like the animations you did, the claymations, are about 10 years at least at this time. So I don't know if
Yeah,
it
yeah, that's
feels
true.
comfortable to talk about them, but I was
Sure,
just,
yeah.
they're so gorgeous. Like your work is,
Oh, thank
very
you.
masterfully done with like the materiality of all the like clay. And I don't know if
Well,
you,
I mean, yeah, you just explained it so much better than I would feel like, but um, yeah, I think that the animations were kind of, I mean, all my work is really kind of exercising demons and like letting the monsters out and like to deal with them and to be okay with them and to accept them and to be um at peace, find some kind of peace, like I feel like that's why we all make work, right? um so it just was that too. And I think animation was like, and some of the sculptures I've been working on too, they're the ceramics, they're so involved and detailed, and they take a long time to do. I mean, animation takes even longer, like a year or whatever. You're doing 24 frames a second and you're doing thousands of frames, sometimes
yeah,
I
can
would
you
do,
talk about that? Like,
yeah.
how do you keep going and how do you stay focused? I feel like I want to talk about this too later with the technology piece, but I feel like I become more and more ADHD. And I don't know
Oh
if
yeah.
that is because I'm working from home and like have a lot of Zoom meetings and the smartphone stuff.
Maybe.
But how did you stay focused during that time making that work?
Well, gosh, I mean, I did make those, like, I mean, I made the watercolor films that I did recently, more recently, like 2 years.
Hmm.
I made one, I think it was 2022, so 2 years ago. But like the other ones that were longer and more involved, kind of, those took a lot of time. And I don't know how I didn't have a child, and it was, yeah, pre all this. I feel like it was pre well, there was 10 years ago. I mean, yeah, there's social media. I wasn't super involved in it, but um
It was lighter,
it
I
was
would
lighter.
say.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
felt like it's so, I feel like it's so hard to be present with technology, the way technology is now, how it's like just all encompassing all of our lives all the time, that I feel like it was easier then to focus. But that's why, as we talked about, that I, kind of took a step back from all that. And not that I was heavily involved, but um, but yeah, I do think that might have something to do with it. Also having children. Also, I think, um, yeah, maybe well, and I hate to say I was younger and I had more energy, but the films I do now are just more focused, I think, and they're just, um, I don't know, maybe even more honest. I don't know, but I feel like I'd have less time and less energy maybe, so I really focus when I work, and I really just think about what I really want to do, and I think more about process than the final outcome.
Mm.
I think about like what is making me feel not necessarily good, but like a way that I want to, like, what is helping me to feel like the expression that I want to feel in that moment. Um,
Hmm. It's funny.
yeah.
I worked this job as a sales like recruiter, and one of the really and they're very like sports heavy as a company culture. And they would always say like trust the process, and they would have this really elaborate way of like getting clients and stuff. And
Yeah.
it was such an obnoxious thing to hear over and over again, but I do think it's like really real for a
Yeah.
lot of other aspects of life where it's
Yeah.
really just about building on yesterday.
I know
And
it's always like the corniest, most like the
yeah,
dorkiest things that are just like, well, but it makes a lot of sense for me right now.
no, I know they say
Yeah,
it for a reason. I hate
I
it though,
know.
but
I
yeah,
know.
it is like real. And I mean, I feel like when I look at your animations especially, but also all your other work, it's like you can feel the process really built into the fabric of like the meaning of the work too,
Yeah.
because the claymation, you like see the hand without the actual hand, as you're kind of moving the figures around and everything. Could you just talk about like a one day of making an animation? Like how many frames do you get through? Like what are you doing? I feel like this
Um,
is something that not a lot of like 2D artists do because it is so time consuming. So the fact that
yeah.
you've done all the things.
Yeah, it depends on the film and depends on like the time, but like it varies. I mean, there would be days where I like with Mound, I had like like at least 100 characters, and I animate all by myself, and I just was like moving 100 characters, for like a shot. I don't even remember how long the shot was. Maybe it was 30 seconds or something, but I would do like 1 or 2 frames a day, and so I'd just sit and work on all the characters.
Yeah.
For the whole day and then, take breaks
And by
and
that you
yeah.
mean like one photo
That was
basically.
yeah, it's like
That's it.
a
And then you would
photo.
do,
Mhm. So there was like 100 characters
yeah,
and I would go cheat and then cheat, 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 and then cheat, 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 and then cheat, cheat, and everyone's like the fingers like moving that much and then you move like one piece of hair, like not
right.
even like that much,
How did you
and then
remember the next day
I
that
don't know. I
you
don't
just
know. You
did?
just get super focused when you know how it is. Like if you're interested in something, you get really focused on it,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
That's
I
cool.
probably
I get
took
that.
some notes. Yeah. I probably wrote some things down.
And then, so what year did you have your child? Or like what year did you become a parent?
2017, summer 2017. Yeah, and moved out here to Sky Valley from LA in July. Oh my God, I'm sorry. July 2017 is when I moved out here. And then I had my child July 2018. Yeah.
And so how has that kind of shifted things for you? Because yeah, your animation style has changed. Maybe you don't spend a full day working on one frame.
No.
Um,
Yeah, well that was those years were a big change for me. I moved out to the desert. I had a child. I got I got rid of my smartphone and
oh, did
I
that happened
got
around the same
that
time?
was like 2019, I think it
Oh,
was.
okay.
And then I got off social media like 2020, I think, or maybe 29. I can't remember. Something like that little group of years. But all those things together really um, altered my life a lot for the
Yeah.
better. And
You kind
um,
of can't add more change in than that unless you like
yeah, it was a lot.
lose someone,
Yeah,
like
yeah, of
that's like
course.
all the major life changes.
Yeah, for your own self. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So
I
what was
forgot
that
the question.
like? Well,
Oh,
just I'm just trying to imagine because I do feel like, your work shifted and it sounds like your life totally shifted. And then of course the pandemic shifted everyone's
yeah.
life.
Oh,
But
and then COVID happened. Right, that whole
yeah.
thing. And then yeah, everything was
And
yeah.
what was your kind of internal like narrative like where you like I want a break or I'm happy to like take this time to be a parent or what was your thought
I don't
process
know.
like?
I just wanted things to be different. I think there was some habits when I was living in the city. I don't know. I just wasn't I mean, I think, I've always like struggled like a lot of us with depression and anxiety. Like I think I don't know that it was I don't know. I don't know if it was particular worse at that time, but I just felt like an intense need for change and growth. And I just wanted to,
Like personal growth, it sounds like.
yeah, I just wanted different things. I wanted to be more with nature, and we are now, and I just wanted to be, but the interesting thing is that with COVID and moving out here and everything, I actually, because I spent so many years working alone, and I'm always in my studio alone, working alone. I don't never had assistants. I worked with one person, my wonderful, amazing, um, elder Kay Sun, who's my cinematographer in my films. But besides that, there's really like, I didn't really work with anyone ever. And so I was
Yeah.
like, had a really like solitary life for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And coming out here, I thought that I wanted more of that. But then after COVID and everything, I found like this intense need to be around people and be parts of communities. And actually, even though I'm more secluded here, I have to go into town every day. I drive 30 minutes, 35, 40, sometimes minutes,
Wow.
sometimes an hour to town to go to take my daughter to school. And then I go work at a pottery studio where there's people,
Oh.
and I go to dance classes in town, and I might start teaching dance, I think. And I've just been doing a lot of things that are like in the community, um, and with the school and everything, trying to be a part of all the communities. Um, way more than I was when I was in LA, which is like full of people and everything. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
That
Yeah.
is super
It's a
interesting.
change. Yeah.
Like in some ways you're dialing back
Hmm.
like the hustle and bustle. But
Dialing back the digital life. Not that I was really that involved, but it's kind of impossible not to be.
totally.
Dialing back that and then increasing my presence in like physical societies or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and
with
I feel
people
like
in person.
2019 was like peak utopia of Instagram where all the photos, because I
Mm.
was a social media manager for a
Oh,
company. So
wow.
I spent a lot of time and that really influenced my work because I was
Yeah.
always like looking at Instagram for my
Mm.
job. And I think that was the era where everything was really flawless and perfect. And then
Yeah.
when COVID hit, it was like dystopia and
Yes.
imagery, and everyone was like really dark and like messed up photos. I don't know. So it was like probably a good time to get off anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I don't
yeah,
miss it.
did you feel like pressure at all? Because I do feel like you were having like a moment, with all your, I mean, maybe it came earlier, but like with your animations, you got so much attention for those. And I mean, did you feel like there was like the art world hook at all that you had to kind of
Yeah.
detach from or?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely felt like there was like, there's always that feeling like, if I leave social media and like don't have a smartphone, I live out, I'm not going to shows in LA. Like I'm not told, do I disappear? Like, do I, like, will people just forget me? And I don't know. It's just, I guess I got to the point where I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter. It's just, nothing really matters except, being a kind person and like loving people and
Yeah.
like contributing in some positive way to the communities you're involved in or not involved or whatever. Like, so what does it matter? I mean, um yeah, I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah,
The
no, for
question.
sure. And then, I mean, I guess to like segue into your current show called Dumb Phone, you're using kind of like a pared down iPhone that's out of date, right?
I have a flip phone that I use for my phone.
Oh, you do. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a flip phone, and then I have a five. I like a, I don't know. It's like it's the same one I've had. I think it's a 5S iPhone from like 2013.
Like 16 or something.
Yeah, maybe 2014 or something, and it's obsolete, so it doesn't work. But it works for podcasts, which is nice. So I have my podcast
Yeah.
and my music on there, and I use it like an iPod. And so it doesn't, the web browser doesn't work. I can't really download new apps. So it's great. It's like it's
You
like an old
literally
school
can't do
iPod.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has Apple Music, which I like. So yeah.
And when did you fully start the flip phone life?
Well, I was remembering that I actually got one. When I got, uh, I had an iPhone. I got my first iPhone, I think it was like 2013. And then I had it for 5 years or something. And then I remember the second half of having it, and I got a flip phone, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to have my iPhone at my work. So I had a flip phone at work, and then I just ended up getting rid of it altogether. And then
Okay.
so I had it for about 5 years, and then I've had my flip phone for 5 years
Okay, so like
ish.
2018 or something?
Yeah, like maybe 2019, I think it
Okay.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like
When I
for
had my
me,
daughter. Yeah.
I started traveling abroad, and so I would use like a burner phone to
Mm-hmm.
like communicate with local people because yeah, for texting or whatever. But then I did do like a month and a half this spring with for like flip phone February if people are interested in trying out
Oh yeah.
dipping their toe into the water of
Yes.
dumb phone life. But I will have to say it was really hard
Yeah.
because I do live in a city and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know the area. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like trying to get around and trying to do things that normally you're like out and about and you can easily quick do the
Yeah.
thing to figure out where to go next or
Yeah.
how to contact. So do you feel like when you go other places, it's harder or like, because where you are now, it sounds like pretty cozy and you can probably figure out a lot of things without having to download an
I
app or,
yeah, I haven't I like yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be a challenge. I think the places that, like I go to, Southern California, which I know, I go to New York, which I know, like so I know these places really well and I don't need it.
yeah,
And I am and I've been doing it for, 40 years
so
or like,
long.
so like,
Yeah.
it's easier for someone maybe my age that's been doing it
Yeah.
for yeah, but then I did compile a list of tips to for people to
What?
drop their smartphone because I know it can be hard, and
Yeah.
I actually wrote a list of things that you can do that make it easier. Like I have a Garmin in my car, so it pretty much can get around anywhere. And if you were,
You have a what?
it's not even a thing anymore. A
A
Garmin
Garmin?
is a
Is that a
navigation.
GPS thing?
Yeah, it's a navigation system, but
Yeah.
I think I got it like 15 years ago or 20 years ago.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's just a navigation system, but works by satellites.
Got
And
it.
it's just, it works great. And I can get anywhere that I don't know how to go. I just, you know,
And what about
type it
like
in.
not to spend too much time on well, I would
Hmm.
love to, see your list because
Yeah.
yeah, it is hard. It's like there's so many pieces and I think the
Yeah.
thing that I've talked to someone who made like a dumb phone called the light
Uh-huh.
phone and
Hmm.
he's like we recommend that people have something else
Yeah.
they want to spend time on because you
Yeah.
will end up with these like chunks of time where you don't have anything to do because you used to be on the phone.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I bring books to read. I have books. I have a Garmin. I have a camera.
yeah.
I have uh what else? Like I have a landline at my home so
Oh,
that the
okay. Wow.
phones are because my husband has a smartphone
Sure.
but like he kind of turns it off at a certain time or puts it away and like we don't have it in the bedroom, we don't have it at the dinner table, like we have rules about it, and if we and when it does help if you have a group that you're traveling with, if one person had one, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
that would make it easier. But the idea of it is that, yeah, it's a little bit harder to have a flip phone and to live a digitally minimal life, but it's a little bit harder, but it's worth it. Like for me, that's how I feel. And
Yeah.
it's
How have you
yeah,
seen like for me, I did a lot more plein air painting because I would have all this time in the morning or, just I felt like, oh, like anxious to like get that energy out of like what's going on. So I would like go and do something
yeah.
like productive. But so for you, how did that manifest itself? Like maybe at the beginning, I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I mean, I find I've read a lot more books. I've gotten more work done. I can't imagine how hard it would be with my amount of focus and attention span at this current moment, at this point in my life. Like if I did have it, like I don't even know if I could get anything done. It's like so distracting.
Yeah.
Um, when I
Yeah,
do
they
go
make
on to
it like
check
that.
email, it's just like, oh, it's been an hour and it's like or 2 hours and it's like, so I could have been reading my book. But
Right.
yeah, I think yeah,
The
it's
books,
yeah.
do you have any books that you're currently excited about that you've read?
Uh yeah, for sure. I mean, they're all kind of like well, for sure, the like best book I've read in a long time, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Having a young kid in school, it's insane. Like the whole change of like childhood is like completely like it's not even anything we recognize anymore, and it's not. It's a phone based. He talks about the idea of childhood becoming from play based childhood to phone based childhood, and so the kids are their lives center around smartphones, and
Right.
so
And
that
screen
was
time.
really catastrophic to read. But also, like the second half is full of solutions, and it's
It
really
is.
nice.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. Because I'm like,
yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds really
I know
brutal.
the first half I was like, I can't go on. But then
Well,
the
and you're
second
like, well,
half,
that's
yeah.
me
Oh
too.
yeah,
Like, it's
totally.
definitely,
Everybody.
yeah.
Yes, everybody. And then
Yeah.
thinking of like the next like humans, like what are we
Yeah.
sending
How do
forward?
we dial this
These
back? I mean, I
robots.
guess, yeah, for me, I'm like, it's one thing to slow down or to temporarily, but to really like slow the entire culture of, yeah, maybe the one person has a smartphone, but what if none of us did like for a
Yeah.
while? Or,
Yeah.
how do we like dial things back when they've gotten kind of so
Yeah.
accelerated? Everything feels
Mhm.
very fast. And like my
Yeah.
expectation is that everything can be done really quickly. And
Yes.
I think it goes to what you talk about in your show with like the spoons is like the slowing down allows you to notice, but let's be real, it's like cutting an addiction. It's not really that fun at first,
Yeah.
like
It's
what
hard at first. Yeah, it is.
yeah.
It was a challenge, and I was like, "Oh, can I do this?"
Yeah.
Because you have to text like the old style. I don't know how many of you like
Yeah, the
had the flip,
T9.
yeah, or T9.
You're
You
like
know,
"Brr, brr,
yeah,
brr,
yeah. And it's
brr, brr,
harder, but
brr."
then you get used to it, and then you're like really fast, and then it's nothing. But it's
Yeah.
like it's. I have never been even moderately or severely or seriously hindered or in danger because I had a flip phone. It's like
Oh, okay.
there's a mild like inconvenience.
Right.
But there's nothing moderate or really serious as ever,
Yeah.
it's a mild inconvenience. Yeah.
Well, and if
But
you
yeah.
travel with a backup too, like I had my light phone crash out on me and I couldn't get it to work. And I
Oh,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
driving from SF back to LA. And so that was a little
Yes.
bit of a problem, but I just had my backup and I like moved my SIM, so you could
Yeah.
always just keep it with you. But
Having a backup or a laptop or something. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, but the flip phones are, I mean, more reliable because it's an older technology in a way. I don't know. I don't want to say they're more reliable, but
Yeah.
I would love to switch to a light phone because I like that it has the podcast and everything. But yeah, the flip phone's been great for me, so I don't need to switch it up yet. But
Yeah. Well, and yeah, just to like move away from this depressing
yeah.
topic into your show. So, you walk in and there's like a wall full of spoons that you've
Mhm.
made out of ceramics. Can you talk about like the significance of that and just like how that came up to you?
Yeah, I wanted to make a wallpaper. I have been making these ceramic wallpapers lately. I did like I had a situation where I had like a bunny and a snake like fighting with each other outside my door, and it was really weird, but like the bunny was the aggressor. It was really strange. And then
Oh,
it lasted like an hour and they were just like facing
what?
off and then biting each other. It was
Was the
really
bunny
crazy.
gonna eat the snake or
I
what?
I don't know what happened. It was a rosy boa, which are like docile, so they're not like they don't have
Okay.
venom or anything. But like eventually the snake sniffed at
And
it a
was
couple
the
times and
rabbit
they
like the jackrabbit? Because they're a
no, it
little
was
bit
a
more
little
intense.
regular bunny
That's
rabbit.
so wild.
Um, but
I would have
anyway, so
pulled a
that
tarot card on that. I would have been like, what is this about?
I know it was weird.
Okay.
But then I made a wallpaper as those just bunnies and
Yeah.
snakes, and I just wanted to make a wallpaper that was, um, that it was, that you could feel like a sculpture. So there were sculptural little elements, like a wallpaper, and then I this time I was like, well, I want to do something else, and then I don't know, I just thought spoons. I wasn't gonna put like messages on them at first. I just was gonna make spoons, thinking of like feeding and like I don't know, like being in service or like war like what do you have a spoon soup? I don't know. But I was just thinking it felt loving to me. I don't know. And then I just started
Yeah, like
making it
then
like a journal. Yeah,
okay.
like I started making it like a journal. So it became a journal for me. And then I would just like write things that I was thinking about that day or and just worked on it for a long time this year, with along with other things. And that's kind of where it came from.
Oh, I love that. And I
Yeah.
like the idea that it's like a wallpaper installation. Like
Yeah.
you could have objects on your
hmm
wallpaper instead of it just
hmm
being flat.
Yeah, I love wallpaper, so it was
You
a different
do?
way to do it.
Yeah.
I would cover every room and the ceiling and the floor in wallpaper if I
Oh,
could.
yeah. And the new owners one day will be like, oh my God, so
Yeah.
much wallpaper.
Yes, as you can see, like everything around me is
Yeah.
filled
I know you
with
do kind of have like a collage of
it's a little
different.
much.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. No, I love it. I like maxed out
Yeah,
living.
maximalist here.
But yeah, I mean in the press release they talk about like the poem or the writing about the spoons and how like every minute like that you're able to notice the present is like a spoon.
Mm,
I don't know if
yeah.
that was something that you thought
No,
of or if it was like
they
a
found that and I
idea.
loved it, and they often like it's nice to have a gallery that you work with. They're so um they're wonderful, and they just yeah, they found that and I just felt right
It really
and
felt connected.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it because I do think like the present moment as this, I mean, like if you're Eckhart Tolle, it is literally the only thing, right? But
Yeah.
just using it as a source for inspiration and like having that be enough rather than always needing to like augment, the moment.
Right.
I think
Right.
there's a lot of that, like for me with smartphone, but also
hmm
just the mentality of like being in a big city, always trying to make things better or get more or I think it's just like the mindset, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's because we're in California, even around like being spiritual, like how can I be more present, like even
Yeah,
that's like a
always
competition with yourself.
right. Right. Kind of always looking for answers and looking for fixes or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's just this like embrace of the
Yeah.
moment and then the making of it, which you had to be really present for that, and
hmm
the kind of accumulation of the spoons as a way to show time. I think that was really successful for me.
Yeah, thank you. And I just all of my work is really about the handmade and the human made and I don't use just with like AI and all this thing everything going on with um I don't know, I just want to I mean I've always made things like this and I want to continue to make things that celebrate, just like being human and having a hand and using it and having things that come to my brain and then put them out my hand like,
Yeah.
like no machine can.
Yeah. We had a question about dance that I thought
Oh yeah.
was good. I remember listening to one of your interviews where you talked about your choreography and experience as a dancer informing your animations, your claymations.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
and now you're taking dance again. What kind of dance are you taking?
Yeah. Well, I've always taken dance my whole life
Oh,
and I've
okay.
been dancing since could walk and it was kind of my first love and but never did anything with it professionally or anything like that. I
Were you
just
like a tap, jazz, and ballet
oh
person?
yeah,
I
totally
did that too,
everything. Oh,
actually,
you
up
did?
until a certain age. Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes. Tap, jazz, ballet. I did flamenco. I
Oh,
did
cool.
like yeah, and then of course contemporary and modern and all that and I love it. And yeah, no, it's like in me. I just like whenever I love animating because it's like dancing paintings or dancing, it's like that's what I had a teacher, Jules Engel, who ran the experimental animation program at CalArts, and I was in the program there, and he as a BFA, and he um always talked about dance. He would always show us dance video. He would always show us dance movies and the bijou on the big screen, 35 millimeter, like all these old dance movies and clips and everything. And yeah, no, that's what I loved. So that's what drew me to animation was that it was so much like dance. So when I
It could be an analog for the form.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, just making characters move to to beats and music.
And
And then now I'm just, and now I'm still dancing, and I have a little group I performed with some
oh,
ladies here
really?
in the desert. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
Do you do any choreographing yourself?
I do, yeah, for myself and my daughter, but like, nothing I'm working on things, but nothing really that I've really put out in the world.
But I mean, except for the
Except for the
choreographing of your
films. Yeah, yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did you do those at home? Like, were you doing them yourself first to kind of figure out like what do I want them to do
I
or
think I did a little bit, yeah, and then it was just movement that was like, and just kind of in my mind that for so long, and I don't even know if I choreographed it or whatever. I just kind of
like
started moving them,
mhm.
like let them move themselves, almost just which way do they want to go, and
Yeah.
wasn't too planned.
In Eager, I mean, you have this one scene where there's like the three dancers and they're kind of folded over,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have this like blue, like
Mm-hmm.
moth woman or something. And the way you moved her arms and hands, it was like for like a couple seconds of it, I'm like, is this a person? It is
Oh, that's
so
cool.
like lifelike and kind of proportionate, but not where
Yeah.
everything felt so like real to what a human form and like modern dance would do. But
Yeah.
it's not. But I got my brain was tricked by it. It was so
Yeah, that's
real.
cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
because it was
Yeah,
so minimal. Like you were doing all these like hand motions.
yeah.
YouTube listeners, feel free to check that out. No, but
Yes. Yeah, it was, just clay and wire and fabric and paint,
yeah,
and just, no real all in camera effects, no digital effects. It's just I just put it there and then moved it. And also
yeah.
you're limited by like how good your puppet is that you build. So if your puppet is really shitty, then like she starts falling this way, and then you're
Oh,
like,
oh my God,
oh, okay, we'll
really?
go with that, and then that'll make her move back this way, and like, because it's clay on wire, so you start tilting them, suddenly they're like
Yeah.
falling. Then,
I see. So the
yeah.
wire actually has a huge role. I guess not being a sculptor, I like that's not something I would have
Yeah, the
realized.
aluminum wire holds up the stop motion puppets. Yeah. Like Gumby style, like Harryhausen,
Totally.
all that stuff. Yeah.
I see. And you're using like a Sculpey or something?
It's a oil-based clay. It was called Van Aken brand. It's an oil-based clay. So it never dries. So
Oh,
you can
cool.
work on a shot for years if you wanted to,
Oh,
It
wow.
would never, you would just,
And that's how
never
you're
change.
getting that like blending because you're just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like layering and layering.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, another question. We've got a nice compliment. They are asking about the shift from fantastical creatures and characters to more landscape, which feels more
Mm-hmm.
observed.
Mm-hmm.
And was that a conscious choice? And yeah, and I would follow up with that. Like, is that connected to like plein air or like a lifestyle move at all?
I think, well, like I was telling you earlier, that my mom is a plein air painter, and that my aunt and my uncle, and they were, a lot of, and painters in the family and artists in the family, but a lot of plein air. And so I was doing it at a really young age. I would go down to the beach and like do plein air paintings and pastels, and like try and hustle them to people, like sell them. Um
Wait, which
and
beach? Like in like,
I grew up in San Diego, Wind and Sea Beach.
so you just
I
go
don't know.
down there. I love
Yeah,
it.
I lived like 2 blocks from the beach, and was
Would
a
you do
real
well
beach
with
girl.
it?
I don't know, no, I mean, I sold some things,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I designed some woman's, she was running for the school board, and when I was like 13, I like designed her envelopes, and I was really happy. And then
Cool.
I got a little job doing calligraphy when I was like 14, 15 or something. And I did some sculpting of foam sculpting of columns and things when I was also around that age. So I was getting little art jobs when I was young, as my mom was kind of a journeyman artist, and she did like courtroom illustration, and she did murals and fashion illustration. My aunt was a fashion illustrator. and the 60s in New York.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
so a
did
lot
that
of,
trickle in at all? Like, I feel like
yeah.
there is a kind of fashion
Oh,
sensibility to
yeah. Well, for sure. I mean, they were, yeah, a lot of commercial arts in my family background. Fashion, yeah, I mean, definitely, I was into that a little bit, but I don't know if I think about it that much, but, fashion, um, but yeah, but the switch that you were asking about, I don't even know if I answered that question, but the switch, um, I don't know, yeah, the fantastical to the real, I don't know why, I just, I think, like, during COVID, I just was home, and I was just appreciating where I was and the change, and was just, I don't know, just being present in where I was living, and finding things that I wanted to put down in the work.
and is that, you did, like, the mountainy piece? I'm trying to remember if was that the moth piece or, like, the landscape
I
kind
did
of
my last my well, not my
your
no,
I'm
that
trying to
was my
remember
last
which
film.
the name
Yeah.
of that one is.
Oh, Purple Mountain,
That's what it
was
was.
2022 was my last film paint on paper, like gouache on paper,
Mhm.
and every frame the same thing, all traditionally animated, like gouache on paper, every frame, not made in the computer, just animated, and, but yeah, I sat in front of this mountain that I'm staring at right now, that's the San Jacinto, and it's just this giant purple mountain, so, I sat in front of it during COVID and painted it every day or a few times a day or skip a day or here or there. Wasn't perfect, but so it was just the same frame and I had to register and I just did it over and over and over again. And then that's the film. It became just the mountain.
Yeah. We've got a question about, what is your process when making your new ceramic pieces? Are you
Mm.
sketching them first?
I do a lot of drawings. Yeah. For everything, I do a lot of drawings. Yeah, definitely. I do a lot of drawings and sometimes watercolors or gouaches and yeah, definitely. But then like it changes, you know how it goes. Like you get in there and then
Mm,
the shape, like clay has a mind of its own, or you're like, I
yeah.
want it to be this shape. And then it's like, "Eh," and then you're like, okay, that's going that way. And you work with it and let the little
Yeah.
happy accidents happen.
I mean, even like, yeah, that feels like the connection between drawing and oil paint or something. It's really hard to get the same like mark making but
Yeah, yeah,
because you kind of want to work with the material as it is. And I could see
yeah,
clay being kind of like that. It's so lumpy.
yeah, yeah. If something cracks and I got to cover this. And then it's
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, yeah.
All right. Was there anything about making the series for Dumb Phone that surprised you or anything that came up like that was new? Because how long have you been working on the work for the show?
It's from over this year
Yeah.
of 2024. I think that I was planning on it being all ceramics, but then I kind of got excited to do some paintings. And then I had a painting that I had done during COVID that I put in, that I kind of worked on a little bit again this year. That was like my 2020 painting. um, and yeah, I think the spoons surprised me that I started using them like a journal. That was a surprise. I didn't expect to do that, but then I just felt like this intense drive to like, say these things that were bothering me and or that, I wanted to say. And so that was probably a surprise. Yeah, for me.
Do you have anything that you're working on now? Like, do you give yourself time off or like what's the kind of creative life cycle like for you? Because I imagine you have at least a show a year. And so like
Yeah,
how do you
right.
manage your energy and
Yeah, well, right now I have nothing planned. It's great.
oh
No,
wow.
I
Okay.
like it. It feels good for a little bit, and then I start
Yeah.
going, I think I need something.
It feels bad. Yeah.
Yeah, but right now it's nice because I just finished. But I'm doing some. We have my we do the Nutcracker. So I'm performing in the Nutcracker with my
What?
daughter on my
Oh my
birthday.
God, cute. So
Yeah, it's
what
super
are your
cute.
roles?
I just play like the parents in the beginning, and so they
Oh,
try
okay.
and they don't have enough older people, so they need parents, and then I'm also doing the Russian scene,
Oh,
which
that's
is
really
tap.
hard.
Yeah, well, they're doing it as tap, so it's a little easier, but
Okay.
not that tap is easier, but it's
No.
easier for me.
But
But
it's not like the jumping. I feel
yeah,
like
there's a
whenever
jumping,
you
but
see that, there's a lot of jumping and turning.
yeah, there's that, but there's two older people in it, and then there's teenagers in it, and they're doing all the hard stuff, and we just stand in the back and do some simple things. But it's really fun. And right now, yeah, I'm just yeah, just I can't wait to get back to the ceramic studio and work
Mm.
on more kind of functional things. I feel like right now I'm
Oh,
excited to
okay.
do some functional things. Yeah.
And how do you kind of know when you're in this, like, it's almost like there's like a vacuum after you finish a show. And sometimes, in my experience, there's a thread from the old show that feels like, yes, I will continue. I'm super excited to work on this more
Yeah.
versus not.
Yeah, I had some things I didn't get to do. There's always things, you have this you're ambitious, you have all this stuff you want to do and then you don't get it. But it's nice to have things, that you still want to do more things. I mean, that's a nice feeling to not feel like, I did everything. I would never want to feel that way.
No,
Um,
definitely.
yeah,
And to feel still excited about the work, but
yeah.
has there ever been a point where you're like done? Like, I mean,
Oh
I guess
yeah.
kind of with moving from the kind of creature world to landscape, like you're just like, this is not what I'm interested in anymore, even
Totally.
though you can
Yes.
maybe get a lot more shows with the same work.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. And I don't I tend not to do those things, and I'm sure it hasn't helped me, but I just can't do things that I don't want to do. They just don't come out good, and it's like,
Yeah.
but I know, yeah, there's definitely things like that but I think that I lost my train of thought, but what was the question?
Well, just, yeah,
Exactly.
that like kind of feeling of a vacuum where you don't have the show yet and you're like deciding about the new thing. And it's like sometimes it makes sense to keep going with
Oh,
what you were
yeah.
doing, and other times it doesn't. And like how
Oh,
you
yeah.
generate
Like
that
where you
new
feel
body.
done.
Yeah. And how do
Yeah.
you get to that new body of work? Like what is the sign that like, oh, this is enough for a new whole show? Or
Yeah, I just like a just complete feeling of repulsion of like I do not want to do that. I don't want to look at that. I don't want
yeah.
to touch it to the canvas. Like I do that a lot with painting. I get so sick of painting and I'm like, I
Oh,
hate the smell. I don't want to sorry, I don't hate anything, but I don't like the smell and I like just don't wanna do it at all, and then suddenly
mm,
like, "Oh my god, I have to paint," and I'm like, "Oh, I have
yeah.
this idea." And I'll take time off, I'll take like a year I take like a year and a half off from painting, and then I'll come back to it
I
or
mean,
like
that
the
takes
films,
guts.
yeah.
Like you really, how do you
Oh,
like keep non-attachment around? Because I mean, I assume you have demands from the galleries you work with. Like, do you have
yeah.
that conversation? I'm just not going to do those right now, or what's that
They're
like for
they've
you?
all been pretty good. I never really felt pressured. That I've definitely had people offer their opinions, like, "Hey, you know, the people like this thing or whatever," and it doesn't really bother me. I like hearing that, but I don't I just say, "Okay, cool." But I don't feel the need to do it if because I know if I try, it just won't come out. If I try and do something
Yeah.
I don't wanna do, it's, like, not gonna come out the way I want it
Yeah.
to. But, yeah, waiting for it to circle back around maybe, but, yeah, I think, for sure, yeah, I've definitely I don't know, it's if it's ball I mean, it's just I don't know, you could say it's not ballsy, you could say, "You gotta do that thing," but I don't know. I just, it's hard for me to do that, and yeah.
And I mean, it sounds like you have a really strong connection to your like inner voice if you're
Mhm.
able to hear that over maybe the perks and demands of the art world kind of hook that is always maybe there once you get a certain amount of
Yeah, yeah,
attention.
yeah.
So how do you stay tuned into that? I mean, I guess maybe having a dumb phone would help.
Yeah, it does help, and not having, I don't look yeah, I'm not online very much, but yeah, it's, and it's not easy all the time. Like I definitely, have insecurity about it. I'm not like trying to say that it's some easy thing, but I think I might almost feel like I would do it if I was capable of. Like I'm just not,
Yeah.
like if it would probably be better for everyone if I just did something, that I feel like, I don't know, people wanted or something. But um I
Yeah.
just doesn't, I just, it
It
doesn't
doesn't
come
work.
out. It's like, yeah.
That's cool. Okay.
I don't know. I've
We're gonna
tried
take.
it. And, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead. You did
Oh no,
try
I was
doing
just saying
it.
I've tried it, and the when I was younger, I think I tried those things, and I was just like, I see why, you can't do things that are according to market or whatever,
I see.
Yeah.
Because you just didn't like how they turned
They're
out, or
just they're
yeah,
not good. Yeah,
yeah.
for me.
Okay, we got two more questions. What painters inspire you, as well as, any other kind of art forms that might inspire you, but painters
Oh,
specifically.
so many. I'm so mad at myself because I wanted to write down the names of a couple newer people that I've liked a lot, but maybe you can post them or
Oh
something
yeah,
because
on
I can't
Instagram.
remember them right now.
Yeah.
I never will remember their names, but um, I mean, like my old favorites are always Bonnard and Birchfield
Yeah.
and um, I mean, Matisse and, Van Gogh and all these people. But yeah, like I've been a lot on Bonnard and Birchfield for years
Mm,
now.
that makes
And
sense.
yeah,
Checks out.
um
Are you into Monet, or is like he too
yeah,
purple? Hmm.
totally. I like all the
Yeah.
old stuff. I mean, I like, yeah, like having like painters in the family, like every calendar was the French Impressionist calendar, like all the time, everything, napkins, like everything.
Uh-huh.
So like,
Oh my
and
God,
it's,
cute. Little
yeah,
like little Monet napkins.
yeah, it's like, yeah, like mugs, all the different art painter, old French, old white men, French
Right.
Impressionist mugs, But yeah, no, I'm a fan of, I love Manet, maybe more than Monet. Um, and I love, uh, the Nobbies and, um, even Balthus and like,
That's
um,
a name I was trying to think of the other last night, actually, Balthus. I was like trying to like B name.
yeah, with the
Yeah, they do.
cats. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And, um, Dix, love Dix,
Okay, yeah.
Auto Dix, um, Cassatt. It's hard to come up with these like on the spur,
I
but
know.
the younger, the old,
Name.
like the new painters and ceramicists working, like I want to like write it down and give it to you so you could post it or something.
That'd be
Because
great.
yeah, there's some people doing such good stuff right now, and it's so inspiring. Um, I love Lynette Yadam. I don't know if
Oh
I'm
my
saying
gosh,
that
me
right.
too. Yeah,
I love
she's fantastic.
those paintings are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, she just had a show at the Tate a couple years
oh,
ago for
amazing.
people who want to look her up.
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay, we got one more question. Maybe that'll be the final question is, do you love animals, or are you inspired by nature at large, or do you just enjoy painting animals a lot?
I love
So,
animals.
are you a real lover of
I
animals, or is it
really
just a
love
show?
I really love animals.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
Yeah.
about your pets, like what kind of creatures.
Right now we have two cats. We got from the Desert Hot Springs Animal Shelter,
Okay.
and we've got Rickles, who is our little white postal dog thing.
Oh yeah,
And
the
yeah.
famous dog in
Oh
the
yeah, that's
painting.
him. Yes. And he is shaved right now, so he doesn't look like what he looks like in the painting. But he's
That's a lot of
happy.
hair to keep
Sometimes
up.
he gets a little warm with the hair. He's yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what we have right now. But I grew up with a lot of cats, and my mom always had like 12 cats. My mom, I don't think she's listening, but she would like steal people's cats from the neighborhood. So I
What?
can say that because she's not here. But no, they would like some cat would come to the house, and then she'd feed it bacon. She was like in her little
What?
witchy ways, and she would like, oh, there was a child being mean to that cat, so I'm gonna like take.
Oh,
cats.
wow. And then you ended up
We
with
always had like
12 and
12
they were all
cats.
like, "Yeah, we see them. They're at your
Yeah.
house. Like they're running around your yard."
Yeah.
It's not
I
very
was always like,
sneaky.
well, it's for the best. Like that child was putting clothes on that cat. And like, okay.
Oh, okay,
She'd
mom.
hate when she heard this.
Did you ever have angry neighbors come over and like,
No, not really. Although we do have angry neighbors. My aunt Nora, she's 91. She lives with my parents, and they're all living together at the house, and with my brother and his wife. And she steals plants from the neighborhood.
okay.
Um,
But that's kind of like everyone does it a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. She
Maybe
got
like
in
some
trouble. She got a
rosemary.
letter. Someone sent a letter that
Oh,
she
like,
took a plant.
oh.
That was one angry neighbor.
So
That
like
was it.
full potted plants.
It was like she took a plant that was planted somewhere and she moved it and then replanted it somewhere else in their yard because she thought it wasn't planted in the right place.
Oh my
So
gosh.
her heart was in the right place.
Totally. Wow. Okay. That's so funny. Those are some nosy witch ladies.
There, yeah, it's like a bit of a gray garden situation at home. And they're not listening, so I can say that.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's a
I say it with
cute
love
with
because I
love,
love
exactly.
those, yes, gray gardens ladies. They're very
Mhm.
special.
Oh my gosh. Well, you should make some paintings just about them.
Yeah,
I mean, now
should.
knowing that, I do kind of feel like the three characters, like I'm just imagining them.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the paintings I did, like the hobo clown and some of the clowns were based off of myself, my
Mm.
mom, my dad, my brother, Aunt Nora, and and Eric Yonker, my husband. Yeah, they were based. So a lot of those I
Oh,
used
that's
like my
cool.
human form with there, and then painted on top of. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Self-portraits.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for being a part of this conversation. And thank you so much to Allison for being my guest today on the Side Woo. Where can we find you since you're not on Instagram really?
Where can we find? Well, I have a website. It's AllisonSchulnik.me. That's my, and I'll keep it updated. AllisonSchulnik.me, and then of course at the Pit and the PPOW websites.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Dumb Phone, the show at the Pit in Los Angeles will be open to the 21st until
Yeah.
the 21st of December.
Yeah. Yeah. Go see it in person.
Yeah, it's so great. I mean, the texture and everything is amazing. If you want to follow along with the Side Woo, I'll be doing more talks. I might be doing another talk this month, maybe through my Substack, which is called Art Date. So you can go to artdate.substack.com to subscribe. Otherwise, find the Side Woo on all the platforms for podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the others. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Yay. That's all for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. This was your host, Thibault, with sound editing help by Natasha Lowy. If you love this episode, please share it with a friend, write us a review, and give us 5 stars for good karma points. To watch along, subscribe to our YouTube channel and see all of our videos and live talk recordings there. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time on The Side Woo.